guys. So, week 16 here on the men's room. It's crazy, we've already done 16 vids apiece. Some of us, anyway. So, this week's topic is trans books. And I really like this topic. I'm a big reader. I love reading. So, this topic is going to be a bit lengthy. In terms of trans books, my number one book that I think you should read is The Riddle of Gender. I love this book. I actually just finished reading this about a week ago, and it's called The Riddle of Gender, Science, Activism, and Transgender Rights by Deborah Radcliffe. It's really interesting how she wrote it. What happens is, don't want that there. She writes a chapter, and then she writes about an interview, or she, transcribes an interview. And each of them are it's either a doctor or someone involved in the history of transgender care and transgender rights. So it goes from the 1920s, which is when in Germany they started researching all this kind of stuff, and then it goes through Harry Benjamin, it goes through John Money, comes up to the present with all the DSM stuff, the book, where they list gender identity disorder. And then it goes through like DES, which is about it was a pregnancy drug. Doctors used to give DES, which is a very potent estrogen, to patients who were pregnant, and it has had a lot of effects, really bad ones, particularly for the daughters of DES. It causes vaginal cancer and all this kind of stuff, but it also goes through the forgotten sons of DES and how some link it to a rise in the number of transgendered people there are. It also goes through recent, it was finished in 2005, the edition I have. It originally came out in 2005, and then the edition I have was a reprint, and it has a new chapter at the end where the author goes through new research as soon as 2007. And it goes through these things called EDCs, which are endocrine disrupting chemicals found in plastics and a lot of pharmaceutical drugs, and how they get into our water system and how they could potentially be a root of a lot of stuff. But this is possibly my favorite trans book. I think it's, this is what it looks like. And I think it's a must-read for trans people, or anyone for that matter. It's written in a way that so if you're a scholar and, you read a lot, doesn't matter. If it's a good read that way, and it's also a good read if you're not, some highly educated gender specialist. Second favorite book, Stone Butch Blues. This is a classic. This was the first book I read, and this really was my coming out book, I guess you could say. Not in terms of being attracted to women, but for being trans. Very sad. Made me cry. I don't know if it will now that I'm on tea, but it's sad. But that's really a good read. And now, this book I'm about to show you is one that comes up if you search on Amazon for like transgender things. This is the first book that comes up. By Jameson Green, Becoming a Visible Man. I thought this book was a piece of shit. It took me forever to get through it, and I don't agree with 90% of the things he says in here. I just think it's really bad. I mean, sure, it's his experience, and his experience is his own, but he tries to portray his experience as everyone's, and I think it's total BS. I think it's awful. So this book, if you want to read it, read it. My opinion, thumbs down. Now these two are the only other two books that are LGBT related at all. I read these when I first came out as a lesbian. They're comic books. It's a lesbian comic written by Ariel Schrag. It's called Potential, and the other one is Awkward and Definition. And they're really funny. It's about a high school girl. It's about her. It's an autobiography. It's about her and her experiences coming out and being gay in high school. It's really funny. But in terms of other books, I actually just put an order into Amazon for 4 new books. Number 1 is As Nature Made Him, the story of a boy who was raised a girl, which is about Daniel something or other. And he's a DES son. What happened was, when he was circumcised, the doctors made a mistake and almost cut off his penis, and then they didn't tell the doctor, and then they told the parents that he was actually a girl and had ovaries and all this stuff, and so they raised him a girl, and then they found out, and I think about 3 years ago he committed suicide. But it's by John Copinto. John Copinto. I'll write the name in the sidebar. It's called As Nature Made Him, the story of a boy who was raised a girl. Second book I ordered was Transliberation, which is by the same author who wrote Stonebridge Blues, Leslie Feinberg. Her wife actually teaches at Syracuse University. So, you know, connection. But then also I ordered Dear Sir or Madam. It's an autobiography of a FTM. It's by Mark Reese. And the other one I ordered was Last Time I Wore a Dress by Pepin Sklolinski. I got all the books I ordered. In this book she has like a huge bibliography in the back, full of articles and different books that pertain to the book. You can't read that, can you? Bibliography. And it's like a few pages long. And I just went through it, and the ones that looked interesting, I ordered. There's a couple more that I want to order, but I figured I'll only do a few at a time. So yeah, I get my books on Amazon, and sometimes I'll get them at the bookstore, but mainly Borders and Barnes & Noble don't really have a great gender selection. I'm going to try and find some at school, in the library. That's always a good place to go, is a big library, or an academic library. So yeah, that's my take on books, and I think you should all read this, because it was really good and really, really informative, not only about activism and our rights as transgenders, but also the medical and science side of things. So, hope you all have a good week. Peace.